week back. Week 1 recap. Here we go, gentlemen. Undisputed gets a intro by Lil Wayne. I get an intro by myself. We'll get there one day. Here we are, week 1 recap. And you couldn't ask for a crazier week 1. We're going to jump right into it. We're going to go over the final scores. We're going to go over standings update. We're going to go over key injuries. And then we're going to give a recap on every team, like I love to do. And trust me when I say week 1 overreactions are hot. I got Ben triggered on a week 1 overreaction with his Justin Fields, and I plan on doubling down in this video. I'm like Max Kellerman, it's like I'm going to overreact. I am. And it's like I said, Max Kellerman, if you could have one person in the world taking the last shot of a game, give me Iguodala. Those are the takes I'm coming with, and I'm going to stand by them. Like I said, let's jump into final scores around the league. Starting off at the top, myself, Team Nick, defeated Mitch 152-113. Now we'll take this time to go over the lines that were set by Mitch's sportsbook. This line was set at Nick -5.5. Safe to say, I cleared that by a bit. Moving on, Team Mid, Mr. Todd. Your flowers are coming, okay? Hold on. Team Todd, 140, defeated Team Dave, 103. Big swing there. I mean, that's a 37-point difference, and that line was Dave -7. So, Todd definitely exceeded every expectation in that game. Moving on, we had Team Ben defeat Team Jared 126-100. It was probably the least impressive matchup overall around the league, and that's nothing to say about these two teams. It's just their stars didn't really come out in week 1. Ben pulled off the win, though. It's always good to get a win on your belt week 1. Team TJ with the nail biter came down to Monday Night Football, and it came down to who else other than his keeper. And you got to love that. He kept Stephon Diggs, and he did it for him. Ended up pulling off a dub, 138-135, and a close one there. And to round out the week 1, the matchup that we thought was the most lopsided, that line, was -15.5. Andy. Jake won by 6 points. And we know why he won. Do you blame Daniel Jones and the Giants? Do you blame T. Higgins putting up 0 points on Andy's team? Like, a lot of blame to go around. Bottom line is Jake pulled off the win without Kelsey or Kupp in his lineup. Impressive to say the least. The week 1 MVP, I hate to do it, but I'm going to give it to myself. Drafted well, and it's already paying off. We went 4 receivers to start. The room gasped. 4 receivers, oh my God. 152 this week. And we plan to do the same every single week. I think I missed a couple lines on Mitch's sportsbook, so I want to backtrack a second here. And I want to give a shout out to this one line. So Mitch had TJ -4.5. TJ won by 3. That was a line right there. Another line that smacked, I think that was a great read on Mitch's sportsbook, was Ben -8.5. He cleared that by 26. So it was a great line. So let's move on. We know the final scores. With those final scores, it puts 2 1-0 teams in the NFC. It puts 3 1-0 teams in the AFC. So I think pretty even. It could have gone either way of the undefeated teams in the division. So I think going into week 2, it's pretty fair. We'll go over just key injuries around the league real quick. And if you guys had these dudes, I'm sorry. It could be any one of us at any moment. Your season can just turn just like that. So starting off the big one, we all hated it. A-Rod goes down with a torn Achilles. If you watched Hard Knocks, it hurts you even more because, I mean, I think if you watched Hard Knocks, you're now a forever fan of Aaron Rodgers. And it sucked. You hated to see it, you know? And that leads me into the next injury, another Achilles tear from a guy that you can't help but root for, J.K. Dobbins. You know, and I made a comment when it happened. You know, I may have said some things out of frustration. And in that moment, the tackle looked like he may have rolled an ankle, you know. And the way he got up and just walked off the field, I was like, okay, it's an ankle. Dude, come on. Get on the field. Okay. Turns out it's an Achilles. He's probably done for the rest of his career. I feel terrible. Deontay Johnson looking to be out for a couple weeks with a hamstring. And some boys in here that have pulled a hamstring before, not an easy injury to come back from. Same thing with Aaron Jones, another hamstring thing. Now he's pulled his hamstring in the past, so you got to ask yourself: is this going to re-aggravate it? Will he ever come back and be the same? Questions you hate to be asking yourself week one. You know, especially if he's a running back one or running back two for your team. Another one to look at is Anthony Richardson being held out of the last drive of the game. Uh, you know, he's looking to be okay right now, but from what the play looked like and from what we're hearing, it was a close call on a fatal knee injury. So we're happy Anthony Richardson's okay. I mean, that dude is incredible to cheer for. Um, he's just fun to watch. So hoping he can be cleared. And then Tyler Lockett exited early in that first week one matchup, which sucks to see, man. It's like the risk you take with taking Tyler Lockett. You know, it was a concussion. There was concussion concerns. He was cleared during the game to return, but ended up not coming back. So I think that's a good sign. I think you can count on Tyler Lockett to be there, and you know those things will heal. You know, so let's go ahead and move on to the breakdown of each team on what commissioner is seeing, what a two-time champion is seeing. You know, these words hold weight. I hope you guys take them to heart. If I come for your neck, I hope you write it down and put it on your bulletin board in the locker room. You know, um, let me motivate you. Let me push you to the next level. So we're going to go off with our team notes, and the way we're going to do this is in order from most points scored. We're going to do it this way every week. So if you're getting tired and you're like, dude, when is my team coming up? Maybe use that time to be thinking about what you can be doing with your team, because there's a reason you're one of the lower scoring teams of that week. So suck it up if you're towards the end of this list and buckle in, boys. So starting out first with myself, Team Sticky Nicky. Moved to 1-0 this past weekend. You know, and I've never made this prediction before. I never have. This roster has the talent to go 11-0 in the regular season. I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. I've never made this prediction before. I hope you guys hold me to it. I think this roster has the ability to go 11-0 in the regular season. I think I'm gonna get it tatted this week potentially on my bicep, and just to hold myself accountable on that. I think Calvin freaking Ridley, probably should have been a second round pick, if not a first round pick, late in the first round. It's because all 10 of us knew he was going to be legit this year, but it's like no one wanted to make that risky jump at him in the first or second round. And that's why he got to me at the turn. And I got very lucky with him getting to me at the turn there. And I'm very pleased with what I saw. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, it looks like he's already his favorite target by far. Jay Jettas, this is a hot take, but I think he'll probably finish wide receiver 2 this year. And not behind one of my guys, a guy down below that I will tell you about. But Jay Jettas looked great. Kirk Cousins looked horrible. So even when Kirk looks bad, Jay Jettas looks great. So we got that to look forward to. We were the highest scoring team in week one, and that's just due to my receivers. The top 4 receivers, I added it up between the 4 of them, 30 receptions for 397 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that's between Jettas, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Calvin Ridley. Very stoked there. But we'll go ahead and move on. Not going to toot my horn the entire night. Got stuff to do. But we'll move on to the second highest scoring team of the week, and that just I don't have flowers in here. I have this. Here's your flowers, Todd. Okay, I know you're looking for them. You're desperate for them, and it's clear that you took Team Mid very personal. It's your team name, and I love that. You should have taken it personal. Um, After going back and seeing this week one performance of your roster, and I'm looking through, buddy, you're stacked. And what I was just talking about when I said Jay Jettas is probably going to finish wide receiver two, that will be behind Tyreek Hill. I watched a podcast with him about a week and a half ago, and he said, with so much conviction in his heart, that he is going to have 2,000 yards receiving this year. It's hard to doubt. That man is electric. And, whether he's on your team or not, you just want Tyreek Hill to stay healthy because he is so fun to watch. I love that draft by you. I love the pick. And it was a statement week for you, Todd. And I love that. You're starting off 1-0 and you're heading in the right direction. That Pollard and Josh Jacobs stack is silly good. Silly good. And Josh didn't even find the end zone, and they still put up a lot of numbers between the two of them. The other thing is you have Lamar Jackson, and it was an off week for him, and you still put up 140. I like the way your team's going to shape out. Um, your biggest thing, Todd, and mark my words on this, is going to be health. Because if you look at your bench, it's the worst bench in the league. There is zero depth there. I don't know who those guys are. So you're just going to want to stay healthy this year because those later rounds, we were all looking at each other like, who's that? Who's that guy? I didn't know that guy played football. So overall, great week, Todd. Move on to week two. Don't get too caught up in the glory quite yet. Moving on to the third highest scoring team. And this guy's good. This guy's TJ, Team Balls Deep. Since he's been in the league, you're going to see a lot of wins out of TJ. He drafts a great team. And this team looks a little similar to last year. He's got two stud receivers that are going to hopefully carry his way. I mean, Stephon Diggs and Amon St. Brown. It's a crazy stack right there. Those two dudes are going to produce. Tua looked incredible all game. Tua is one of those guys where it's like, he's just like, man, is he going to do good? Somehow he just keeps doing great. Tua is phenomenal in that offense. I think he's the perfect quarterback for Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, that running back room. I think Tua is the perfect Miami quarterback. Great pick there. Your running back room is phenomenal too. This team balls deep. I see you going deep this season for sure. Because the other thing is you got a great bench too. You got guys on your bench that put up numbers, and I think are going to continue to put up numbers. So congratulations, balls deep, TJ. Moving on 1-0 on the season. On to the fourth team. Now, you really hate to see this sometimes. A top four scoring team of the week gets put in the loss column. And that was Catholic McCaffrey and Team Austin, moving to 0-1 on the year, being the fourth highest scoring team in the league for week one. I think what I've noticed and what I've come to a conclusion with on this team is you've got four incredible dudes, but then there's quite a bit of a drop off after that. And those four incredible dudes, I mean, we got Jalen Hurts, CMC, Travis Etienne, and Devontae Smith. I think those guys are going to be studs all year long. I think you're going to get 3 out of 4 great performances every single week, and those guys are going to be your catalysts. Lots of potential on this roster, though. Like I said, even though I said drop off, there's still some potential down there and those other guys, but it's hit or miss, guys. It's big week guys or little week. There's really no in between with your roster. But I'd like to give you some flowers as well. Austin, I think you drafted well again. Somehow, I think you do research like in silence, and you surprise us every year because you draft a very competent team. And I know you were drafting right after me this year for the first time, and that was not fun for you. every single pick I made, you were like, "Oh my god, that was my guy." And I'm like, "Sure it was." Regardless, I think you have a great team. Um, don't hold your head on 0-1 there. Like I said, you put up a lot of points. I think you're going to be fine. Moving on to the fifth highest scoring team. Um, man, I'm hard on this guy. You know, love him to death. Love him to death. Team Chubbies, Benjamin, Mr. Cavaletto. And I think I'm hard on him because I expect more out of him. We let's see if I have my notes from last week, and um, yeah, it's 2 years in the league, 10th place and second place. I think I'm just going off of that 10th place finish last year, and I think he is too. I think he's coming with a vengeance this year. He pulled off the dub week 1, which was huge. It wasn't an impressive dub at 126 points scored. Nonetheless, it was a dub. Um, but we'll get into his team now. I'm not sold on your keeper, Justin Fields, and I don't think you are deep down either. I respect you standing by the guy. He's your favorite team's quarterback, this and that. But I mean, all the talk was, "Oh my God, this is the best keeper ever." So not only did you keep the guy and he well underperformed, you have 3 quarterbacks on your roster. So it's like, who are you? Why are we pretending that you believe in him so much? You've got 3 quarterbacks on your roster. If you believed in him that much, it'd be him and a bunch of position players. Um, Moving on, Cam Akers. 29 yards on 22 carries. Could this be the end for Cam Akers? I don't know. Could it be another week 1 overreaction by me? I don't know. We'll have to find out. But I will tell you something. The Keenan Allen, Debo, and A.J. Brown stack is going to have to shine for you every week. And those are 3 dudes. I mean, those are some dudes right there. They get a lot of volume in the offense, and I think they're going to get a lot of touchdowns this year. I don't think we're going to see a lot of like 130-yard games, 100-yard games out of these guys, but you're going to see a lot of touchdowns out of these 3. And you're counting on those guys to really shine for you. The other thing you have is great depth on your bench. You do have a great bench that we all know you're going to try and trade at some point. You're great. You've got a great ownership office. You guys make great moves, and um, I think you're going to be fine this year. I definitely don't see you finishing bottom 2, but I'm going to continue to be hard on you because of what I know you can do. So once again, congratulations, Chubbies. You're 1-0. Um, see if you can keep it up. I hope Justin Fields proves me wrong. Moving on to the 6th highest scoring team, and that comes at the hands of Dak Lives Matter. Now, if this isn't the biggest surprise of the season so far, Jake moves to 1-0. And, the line, like I said earlier, Andy was favored minus 15.5. Jake didn't have Kelsey. Jake doesn't have Cooper Kupp. There's all these question marks on his roster. But I talked about it in last week's video. This owner cleared house in the offseason. He said, "You know what? I'm sick of going with the safe picks. I'm sick of doing what, ESPN tells me to do. I'm going with my gut. I'm going with guys that I know are going to do it." And man, he did it. He freaking did it. Another crazy stat about this game is Jake had 3 guys in the starting lineup score under 3 points, and he still won. And we know why that is. It was my boys' defense. They went absolutely ballistic, and I didn't check if that was a record or not, but I'm gonna guess it was probably in the top 3 all-time defensive scores. I can't recall a game like 40-0. Our offense barely played. It felt like um, somehow we had 40 points on the board. It was a fever dream game. Nonetheless, you want to congratulate Jake here on a 1-0 start with not having his 2 best players, and that Brandon Ayuk pick saved him as well. That dude balled out. I think Brandon Ayuk was such a huge pick this year. I think that 49ers offense is so stoked on Brandon Ayuk. He has only improved every single year. And I could see Brandon Ayuk finishing in the top 10, top 15 receivers this year, undoubtedly. Pending health, of course, always. So, congratulations, Team Jake. You moved to 1-0. Um, yeah. Moving on to the guy that lost to him. I mean, this is a tough loss, and this comes at sky's the limit. Team Andy moves to 0-1 in a week that looked like he had the biggest lock of the week. He was not stressed at all. There are rumors of Team Jake FaceTiming, one of the owners in the league, and Andy was there in the background, and he's throwing up W's. He's Jameis Winston. He's doing the whole bit. And then the Sunday night game starts and everything changes. And I don't think he saw it coming. I don't think any of us did. It's a tough loss for this owner. He's had a lot of tough losses in his career in this league. And you just hope he can turn it around, but he'll never turn it around with guys like T. Higgins putting up 0 points week 1. And trust me, it's not time to panic on T. Higgins. I think he's going to be just fine. More of a Joe Burrow and just the Bengals offense. I don't know. They just didn't show up. But Joe Burrow says it's fine. This happens. It's week 1. I believe him. He's given us no reason not to believe him. So I don't think you need to panic there, Team Coop. You've got a crazy 3-headed monster in Patty Mahomes, Austin Eckler, and Derrick Henry obviously showed us that he's still got it. Those were your first 3 picks, I believe. You kept Patty, you have Eckler, and then you drafted Henry with your second pick. I love it. But your wide receivers are tough. They're brutal. They're brutal. They're like the Chiefs. They're bad. They're the Cardinals. They're the Giants. It's a bad wide receiver room, and I would, if I were you, probably looking to start thinking about possible trades, especially if you take another loss in this next week. And he moves to 0-1. Moving on to weird balls. Mr. Mitchell, tough break playing the champ week 1. I know you were probably hoping for a Super Bowl hangover from me. Didn't happen. It never will happen. I'm different, and I think you probably didn't see that much coming at you. You had the line at -5.5, and we almost cleared you by 50. So, there's no panic button on this team at all. This team is dirty. Your running back room is the best in the league, hands down, and you knew that was the game plan this year, and you rode with it. And this isn't going to change after week 1. You're going to continue to ride with your running backs. And your top 4 players did their job. Your top 4 players, if you're looking down the list, they combined for 61. Your bottom 4 position players combined for 19. So that's where the swing came from. I got lucky that your bottom 4 didn't show up week 1 or weren't part of the game plan. Expect for Mitch to bounce back. He's going to every year. He's going to be in the discussion. So weird balls, if I had any advice, it would just be lay off the panic button. You're going to be just fine. Moving on to the last 2 teams, we've got Team And I'm pretty sure the team name was Drake and Josh before the games ended. And then I look back and now it's just And I think that might be because your team name combined for 12 points week 1. I don't know if Drake London was even in the building in Atlanta or not. I still don't know. I haven't watched the game. I don't know if he was on the field, but he was in your starting lineup. And 0 receptions, 0 yards. I personally would not want anything to do with an Atlanta receiver, ball catcher, anything. They are never looking to throw the ball. I hate to bring this up, but, it was part of my injury report earlier. Aaron Jones and Deontay Johnson are both on your team, both going to be dealing with hamstring injuries. And I gave you crap for it in the last video about your excuse being the IR thing. I get it. I get it now. That's tough. That is tough. And I wish them the utmost health. I hope they can get healthy and come back to your team. If not, you need to start game planning, whether it's trading, whether it's doing something, but you can't sit and wait for these dudes to get healthy and go 0-4 and then expect to make the playoffs. So something has to happen. You've got three dudes that can really elevate you every week. I mean, Josh Allen, Jamar Chase, and DK. You need them to step up. You need them to step up for you. And I think they will. I really think they will. But, Drake and Josh, you moved to 0-1. It's week 1. Don't panic on anything other than the injuries. Moving to the lowest scoring team of the week. It always pains me to talk about, whoever's in last for the week, but it's Team Jerido, moved to 0-1. And we're not going to beat a dead horse, right? We know Jared's a Giants fan. He was with me watching the entire game, and he was a great sport about it. He gave the Cowboys their flowers, and he took it. But then to fall and be the 10th scoring team in fantasy and start out 0-1. Rough week 1 of football overall for Team Jerido. His stars didn't shine. His stars just did not shine in week 1. But that's almost a good thing, because who did? The Pittman, the Brees Hall, the Zay Flowers. Those dudes combined for 55 points. So he's got young bucks that are ready to make the call. If his stars show up, I think this team's going to be just fine. There's not a lot of bench depth on this roster. So I think he needs these starters to stay healthy and his stars to perform. But, 100 points, at least we hit triple digits, right? This whole conversation would be different if he were sitting in the 90s, the 80s. I would be on your head. But I think it came down to your stars just not shining in week 1. All right. That concludes team recap. I think the table is set for this year. My goodness, everyone's getting comfortable with their roster. We've seen our guys now. I think, the draft is a place where you take risk and you jump for guys and you go and get your guy. And I think some of our questions were answered this week. I think some of us may have to wait a couple weeks till our questions are answered. But overall, I like this season, man. I'm looking at the rosters and there's not a bad roster on this league. Like every week I think can go either way, which makes my 11-0 statement insane. So I hope you guys hold me to that. Like I said, I'm getting it tatted on my forehead. I think I said bicep earlier, but forehead feels better now that I've thought about it because I'm just that much more confident. Here we go, boys. It's Tuesday evening. We've got this sleep. We've got tomorrow night's sleep. And then we're right back into football on Thursday with a Minnesota versus Philly matchup that is going to be electric because Minnesota's going to want to come out firing. They underperformed. The offense underperformed. The defense looked phenomenal. If you were watching that game, Minnesota's defense looked great. Their offense could not get it going. And Philly looked very mid against a terrible Patriots team coming off of a Super Bowl appearance. Love Jalen Hurts, hate the Phillies. I hate Philadelphia with everything in me as a Cowboys fan. So we're going Minnesota. It's always been Minnesota on Thursday. Jay Jettas expect 300 yards by himself. Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Like, comment, subscribe down at the bottom. Hope you boys enjoy, and we will see you guys next time.